Roll call, Councillor Manzer, Councillor Tudor, Deputy Warden Ross, Councillor Thurber, and staff. So on saying that, we'd like to pause to seek guidance, please. Okay. And now I would like to know, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? If hearing none, would someone like to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is under delegations or presentations. We have the Y-Reach coordinator, Nadine Morin, plus two others.
In company.
So could I have someone move for them to come forward to speak?
I motion to have the Y-Reach coordinator, Nadine Morin, come present.
And is there a seconder? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. What I'd like you to do is introduce yourselves, especially for our records, and if you're all speaking, that's fine too.
Start with Nadine.
And is it turned on?
It will be in just a moment. Well, first of all, thank you very much for allowing us to come to speak to council. With me today, I have two of my colleagues from different organizations. We thought that it would be an ideal presentation to come and all of us tell you how we are supporting newcomers and employers who are hiring newcomers in this area through the different services that we all offer. So our lead speaker this afternoon is going to be Kathleen Mooney. And on the second slide of the presentation is all of our contact information. The second speaker will be Carla LeBlanc. She's with iSANS, and I'm sorry I forgot to mention Kathleen is with the Western REN, the Western Regional Economic
Network.
Thank you. And then I'll be the last speaker wrapping up. We shouldn't take any more than about 15 minutes of your time.
That's not bad, since you only got 5.
Oh, really? Well, we might take a little more than 5.
I'm teasing.
And then we'll leave time for you to ask us any questions that you may have before we take our leave. And again, thank you very much.
Do you want me? Oh, so I'm Carla LeBlanc with iSANS.
I'm Kathleen Mooney, and as Nadine said, I work for the Western REN. I believe one of our employees is located here in an office, and we have another one in the Digby town office as well. So the Western REN Regional Enterprise Network covers tri-counties, basically, and we provide economic development. That's what the organization does. I work with immigration programs, and I help employers to apply for the various immigration programs. So my official title was manager of the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Project. It was a pilot that started in 2017, and they're planning to make it a full-time program. Well, this year my contract goes until the end of December. So it's been very successful. We've had good success with it. The Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, is designed for employers who are seeing that they're having more and more difficulty finding, recruiting employees locally, and they know that there'll come a time, or it's already time, that they just can't find people locally. So they drive the process, meaning that they apply to be recognized as immigration ready by the province. So that's basically a check on the business, the financial viability of the business, the stability, whether they can afford another salary, whether the business is in good standing with organizations like CRA, they've paid all their taxes. So it's a general checkup, and the application process is not too difficult. And basically, I help a fair bit with for them to apply for these programs. It's meant for a full-time continuing job, not a term job. So the programs that you're maybe more familiar with for immigration are the temporary foreign worker, where you'll see a lot of local businesses, the fish plants who have seasonal work, agriculture in the valley. So that program is probably used more than the full-time continuing program because the need is more in the seasonal work. That program is a federal program, as opposed to this one, AIPP, Atlantic Immigration Pilot, which is funded partly by the province and partly by a co-op. So for the temporary foreign worker program, if someone they just want to start out and apply for it as an employer, I will meet with them, and there's a process. There's a big application form again. It's a little bit more lengthy and complex, I guess, than the provincial ones. They have to prove, for all immigration programs, they must demonstrate that they've tried to find people locally, but they just can't. So it means that they have to create job ads, they have to post them on the websites, and they have to keep track of who applies and why no one is qualified who has applied. And it's a little bit time consuming. It takes a while to complete all that. Once they've submitted their application for the Atlantic pilot, it takes about 3 months roughly, depending if all goes well, to get approved. And then they're ready to hire someone. So this past year we've seen a lot of foreign nationals throughout Canada who have been displaced. They've lost their jobs in the bigger city, Toronto, Vancouver, wherever they were. And they've actually been looking online to try to find work. And so they ended up here. So we have grown I would say that we have hired more in this area than typically we have in the past in that way. And they're coming to work at things like accounting firms, which you will see. We're going to be circulating some ads on social media shortly, so I'm allowed to tell you who hired people because they've agreed to be on social media. So Sanford and Associates, the accounting firm in Digby,
Right here.
has hired one fellow from China, and he was an international graduate student from St. Mary's. They have hired recently another one who has applied for the Nova Scotia nominee program, which is very, very similar, only that is employee-driven or candidate-driven. So they start the application process. And this lady was a student of the community college. So it's great. I wish we had more international students. It would go really well. In the cities like Halifax and Sydney, they have many more, and so there's a lot more uptake on the program. Our challenge here is finding human resources. So the employers apply, and then they start to look. So there are a variety of ways that they can actually fill positions. There are immigration consultants out there who can find people, and more that's growing in popularity, meaning that there are several that are serving our area as more recently. So basically, in a nutshell, all three of us do something slightly different, but we all help with the immigration process. Some of us work more with the employers. Nadine works more with the candidates. We come together, and we're often talking to one another, and I think we are able to help employers and candidates who are here fairly well. So I'll pass it on to Carla.
Okay, so just to add on what Kathleen was saying, so my role with iSANS, I'm an employer engagement, an on-boarder employer engager. Oh, sorry, am I too loud?
No, you were actually echoing.
Sorry. So I guess for the ones that don't know what iSANS stands for, it's Immigration Services Association of Nova Scotia. So our whole vision here is a community where we can belong and grow. And our whole mission is to help immigrants build a future here in Nova Scotia. So iSANS has been serving immigrants for 40 years. What's really neat about the organization is that there is 300 plus qualified staff, 64 countries of staff origin, and 73 languages spoken, which is really interesting. So we come from a very large, diverse group of individuals working to help immigrants transition into Nova Scotia.
300 people work for your organization in Nova Scotia?
Yeah, there's
Wow,
even more.
I had no idea.
We have a lot of even volunteers that help too with teaching English.
A total of 700 with contractors.
You were ISIS, right, before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So my role again as an employer engager is we really want to just be here in the community and act as the liaison between employers and the employment support team through a variety of different programs. So we're definitely here to promote the benefits of hiring immigrants, including refugees and Atlantic Immigration Pilot Project participants. So we want to support them and to strengthen and diversify the workforce for employers. So we offer a variety of services to employers. So we have what's called a skills match recruiting tool, and that tool is an opportunity for employers to post their job ads. It's very similar to Job Bank. You guys may be familiar with that. And so in that recruitment tool, we have all of our pre-screened unemployed job seekers. Their resumes are in that database. So when employers go to post, there's great potential of the employers receiving a job match so that they can pull up their resumes, interview from there. So iSANS, again, works with unemployed job seekers who are newcomers in the area. So they're already right here in Nova Scotia. So they're ready to work. We also offer on-site recruitment and information sessions where if an employer has a variety of positions that they're recruiting for, we can connect them to pre-screened qualified applicants, and they can do some, do the information session, and then they can do some one-on-one interviews after. So with COVID, of course, it's opening up opportunities to be able to do these virtual on-site recruitments, because typically they're just offered just in our Halifax office. So that's really exciting. So we're doing more virtual sessions with employers so that we can target unemployed job seekers right across the province. We also have a workplace culture program which really helps with the onboarding piece. So when employers are hiring newcomers, we encourage them to participate in a workplace culture. It just really helps them build their confidence. It helps the employees settle into the new business. We also offer a professional mentorship program, so if employers are matched to skilled newcomers, and they can mentor them through that process. There's also English in the workplace, so if an individual is working for an employer and there's specific language training that they may need around like their business lingo, we offer two sessions per week for 12 weeks to give the candidate or give the new employee an opportunity to learn the English language, which is great. And we also offer a professional practice program. So if there's a new Canadian that's looking for work experience, we can offer the employer like a wage subsidy for approximately 6 months, or 6 weeks, sorry. 6 months would be ideal. Wonderful. But 6 weeks, at least it gives the participant an opportunity to gain some Canadian work experience, and it also gives the employer an opportunity to see and give them an opportunity to see their skills, and hopefully that they're a good fit too. So again, with iSANS, yes, we offer a variety of services here, and so I'm working directly with the employers to help them recruit, retain, and onboard newcomers. So now I'll pass it on to Nadine.
Thank you. So you might remember when I was here the last time before our world changed under COVID-19. So really my group of services haven't changed. I'm really the boots on the ground with the individual candidates living in our communities, working with them to help them settle, working with their children to help them settle in school if they need additional support. And then I work with employers in terms of getting their candidates ready for applying for their permanent residency. There's a requirement under the Atlantic Immigration Project that we do a settlement plan and we do a needs assessment with the individual or the family, so I take on that role. But unlike my colleague, there's one of me in the region versus 300 across the province.
But I'm the only one in this region. Yeah. I'm the only iSANS
You're way bigger than we are.
That represents all Tri-County.
So we do offer English language support services, and the last time I saw you, you might remember Ann Zimmerman was our ESL instructor and retired right during COVID-19, and so we have a new lady now. Her caseload has grown so much since she joined us. She cannot actually offer ESL to any newcomers to my area. We actually have to find other resources for them. So if you wanted to change to the next slide for me, you might wonder what we've been doing during the last year. So when COVID-19 hit, we didn't actually stop serving. We actually just went to virtual service. And that was not ideal Imagine, if you will, you're a person who's new to the area and English is not your first language, and you're doing everything over the computer or over the telephone. Not the best way to communicate. So we were able to return to the job, if you will, in the middle of July, and by August we were back out in the field seeing clients. So in the past year, we've welcomed 37 new individuals and or families to the regional municipality of Digby. Quite a few of them are down at Lewis Moldings. They've done a massive recruitment, and a lot of the youngsters that they've hired are from away, but they've come out of Ontario down here for the opportunity to work with Lewis Moldings.
And these are long-term people? They're not like just going to head back after a couple of years or a year? Or...
I know that Lewis Moldings and I are hoping very hard that some of them stay. Some won't, but some will stay. And I'll tell you a little story about that in just a moment. And then the other one that's done a lot of recruitment over the past year is Digby Fisheries. And you might remember Kathleen told you about graduate students, and one of the employers in this area who's capitalized on that opportunity, Digby Fisheries, is another one that hired a student from Cape Breton University directly into their workplace. So she's now in the area as well. And then in addition to that, I've supported 7 employers with their recruitment activities. Now, 7 doesn't sound like a lot, but really, if you think about it, when I came in September of 2019, there was only 1 employer recruiting under the AIPP. So that's quite a substantial increase. The other thing we did last year is we did a virtual festival online. It was called From Newcomer to Neighbor. And the idea behind the virtual festival was to celebrate the successes of the people who have moved into the area. One of the perhaps observations that isn't fair is that, they take our jobs. So what we were trying to demonstrate is that these newcomers don't take anything. They actually come here, become our neighbors, and give back to the community. So that ran for a full week. Digby was one day along with Kentville. And we had people from all over our area, from Otagon right across to Annapolis Royal. We did an interview with Digby Pines. We did an interview with a newcomer who's moved into Bear River and started his own business. We did an interview with a newcomer out in Clare who joined the baseball team out there. We have a family here in Digby that played a Korean Christmas carol as part of the cultural component. So it's a lot of different information from all across the province of Nova Scotia. And then what's coming up, right now I'm running a one day a week Canadian citizenship prep, because a number of these people now will qualify for Canadian citizenship. I don't know if any of you ever applied for Canadian citizenship. I'm glad I never had to, because that test is not easy. And if you're a newcomer to Canada, a lot of the information is very dry. And if you don't read English very well, it's really hard to study. So I break it down for them in 10 little slices to help them get ready to take the test. We also, getting a dry mouth. I'm also doing a coffee and conversation every other Tuesday. And again, one of the ways that you feel more connected to your community is to meet new people and become comfortable talking to them. So that's the idea behind the coffee and conversation. And I'm also continuing to do school settlement. Although the schools right now will not let us in because of the COVID-19 protocols, what I'm doing is taking school settlement directly to the kids in their home and helping them with their English and their homework. So the one little story that I wanted to tell you, because that's the end of my presentation, the one little story I wanted to tell you is we had a newcomer arrive in December of 2019. She went to work for one of our employers. She has fulfilled all of her requirements, achieved her permanent residence, has decided that she is going to open her own business in Digby. She has purchased land in Digby and has contracted with one of the local contractors that you all know to build her house. And her house is going to be big enough that she can rent part of it to 2 Digby citizens who have sold their home so that they can move into town. And those are the stories that the average person out there never hear, that I feel is an excellent demonstration of why we're all in this business, to support the individuals and the employers to make this a success. So that's from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to start. George, do you have any questions?
No, it's very informative. Good.
David?
Just one little question. I've talked to business owners who've had trouble with the various programs, federal. They complained specifically how onerous the paperwork was and complicated. And has that changed at all in the last couple of years? Do you guys assist people at all in the paperwork end? Like, you talk about all these things that to help the business, but from me talking about businesses, the real problems, the paperwork, and just how much there is.
I absolutely agree. It is a little bit of work. It's definitely a little bit of a project. Some programs are, maybe the paperwork is more complicated. I find the temporary foreign worker application quite lengthy.
Yeah.
And there are some things that I wasn't quite clear on. There is support. Unfortunately, there is here locally, well, outside of Halifax actually, there is no rep of the IRCC, what we call the IRCC, which is Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada, the federal agency. So there is not one person on the ground who can actually meet with an employer locally for the temporary foreign worker program. You send an email in, and a couple of days later, a person will email you back, and they arrange to have a phone conversation. And then after that, they're there for support. And they're good, and they really know the program. But it's still a lot of work. So that's why I'm not technically, I guess, mandated to work with that temporary foreign worker program, but it's so similar in the requirements, the criteria for the employer to the others, that, and often those employers that apply for the temporary one, they may have a need for 1 or 2 full-time year-round workers, eventually, or maybe right now, or maybe in a year. So it's good for me to make a connection so that they know that there is someone local who deals with programs. So for the IRCC, for the AIPP, the Atlantic Immigration Pilot, or the nominee program, I'm very well versed in the forms, and I do a lot of work for them. And some of the employers have never really written a job description, ever. Many.
Yeah, especially the rural ones, I find.
Yeah, and they tend to use a Canada Job Bank, some of them, or Indeed, or those websites. And they just upload the information, and that's their job description. So you can't fault them for never have made a job description if they don't need one. They just haven't had the need for one. So I help them with that. We also use the services of the Nova Scotia Works Offices, Southwest Employment Services, and there's one in Digby. So I would contact them and get them to get together to create the job description.
You ever hear any discussion about them trying to make it less complicated? Any talk on that end?
No.
Purposely so, maybe, to discourage.
No, I would say that I can't speak for the federal program. I mean, that's the longest form, really. The provincial ones are not too difficult to get through. They really aren't. You have to be it helps if you're computer literate, because you have to upload a lot of attachments and things. My process of working with a new client who wants to apply is I go there, meet with them one-to-one, start the application process, and I coach them. Okay, number 1, you do this. Number 2, this, and I do a follow-up until it's all done.
Perfect.
So if they're willing to, they have to put in a bit of time.
Oh, yeah.
If they're willing to, I can definitely I do a lot for them. I do all that I can for them.
Yeah, there's a lot of people moving to my area as well. Our population has gone up a lot.
And where's your?
Along Briar Island.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lovely family down on Briar Island.
Yes.
And We're going to have our first Canadian citizen born down there.
Oh, I didn't know anyone was supposed to say. I thought that was secret.
No.
I almost mentioned it myself. I was like, oh wait, don't say that.
No, actually, it's very exciting.
Very is. Islanders are obsessed with children, so the fact that they came with a bunch of kids and then there's more, it's like winning the lotto for Islanders.
They love it there.
We had a lot of concern that we were, everyone was moving away, but I guess things change.
Coming back to the forms, the only thing I would like to add on that is the application to become immigration ready is not as complicated as the application when you found your employee.
Yeah.
That one is a little bit more work.
Yeah.
The employee who might be in China needs to do some things, and the employer needs to do some things.
Yeah, that was a lot of work on that down there on the islands with different people.
I do work with them, and usually the employer knows the candidate from another country, and so it's kind of a three-way communication. And it does happen. It can happen. And again, as Nadine mentioned, a lot of them have come from and I mentioned earlier, a lot of cities in Canada who they've lost their jobs during the COVID lockdowns last year or just recently again, and they want to stay in Canada. And the only way they can stay in Canada is they have to find a job no matter where it is at this point. So they're willing to move here to become employed and to get...
They fit in tremendously well with the community as well. The children are just so happy.
That's awesome.
Okay, Angela, do you have any?
That's a good presentation.
Matthew?
Nope, great presentation, thank you.
Okay, well, I do have a couple. And I don't know if it's for Carla or not, but does the Nova Scotia Health Authority use or have the opportunity to have foreign workers
Hire them?
To hire them,
Trying to say it,
hire them that are already here currently?
No.
Either way.
Either way, yes.
Yeah,
I
sure.
can answer too,
Okay,
yeah. Both, I guess, Carla and I work with people who are in the health sector. So the long-term care facilities are in high need of workers. And the challenge with them is a lot of the positions are unionized. And they can't offer a full-time permanent job to an outsider when they have a lot of people on casuals who really don't want to work full-time. And they still have a long roster of casuals, they say, and when they start calling them in, they can't often get a worker. So it's a challenging sector, so that's the long-term care sector. What I can tell you, which would be interesting, which is something that the Digby area could consider doing as well, the Yarmouth Chamber of Commerce has hired a woman to work in doctor recruitment. You may have heard of this.
I hadn't heard this.
Oh, yeah.
Her name is Rebecca Rose, and she's hired, the Chamber of Commerce obtained funding somehow privately, I forgot where her funding comes from, but she reaches out to the Nova Scotia Health Authority in Halifax. I guess it kind of stems from there in some cases where the Halifax workers are receiving inquiries for the province. Basically, it starts there. And they know where the highest demand is, and they try to equally share sort of the people that inquire directly there. Rebecca is also receiving requests herself, personally, from job ads that she's placed for Yarmouth or that the local hospital has placed. And right now, she's going to try to recruit these people using some of the programs.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see how that works out.
It is working out. She has.
When you're
Yeah, sure.
Can I just add as well? So, and so just to maybe explain a little bit more, even with ISANS, ISANS runs very much like a Nova Scotia Works Center. You guys are probably really familiar with Nova Scotia Works, where we have career practitioners that are working directly with newcomers who are unemployed job seekers looking for new opportunities. So our head office is in Halifax. Most of our clientele is in Halifax, but now that we have the rural presence, which has only really been in existence since June of 2019, and so what we're trying to do is trying to recruit those newcomers that are in even the metro area to come out to the rural areas to say there's lots of opportunity. Especially we want to target, healthcare. Healthcare is,
When I'm talking healthcare, I'm not necessarily talking about under the healthcare, I'm talking even about service. There's service and there's healthcare, okay? And service would be your maintenance, your dietary, your housekeeping, your, there's a huge sector. Secretarial is under NSGU, but it's still, what I'm saying is, there's always jobs being posted. The only way you get in, and maybe that doesn't work, is because it is casual, because you gotta get on that list so you can build yourself up, which is a long, odorous process, in my opinion. And I was thinking of service as well.
Yes.
I know CCAs are in great demand. I believe in CCAs. I want trained people in long-term and short-term care. BON, whatever. So that's what I'm asking. And sometimes the people come in and be trained to get into that job. Or do they have to have been trained in their country, come in, and then be retrained because they're usually not accepted under the training they have?
Yeah, so with iSense we have what's called a bridging program. So if someone's coming from another country and they have, let's say, CCA, or they have some type of certification in their country and it's not equivalent to Canada or to Nova Scotia, then yes, our bridging program will help that individual receive all their certification to be able to qualify to work in Nova Scotia. So we have that department as well.
Now, can people just call you?
They can call and do an intake, yes.
Because I know there's a family here, and they're very hard workers, but I don't think they've heard of any of you three.
And honestly, it's another one of those, Linda, part of why we come to talk to you is because oftentimes they'll reach out to the people they know, and our hope is, now that you've heard us again, if you run across that family who is in need of service, send them along, because that's our role. And in terms of your health care, I can tell you that Meadowlee Lodge is now under this big umbrella organization. They have recruited a minimum of 6 people out of Ontario into their CCA stream. AIPP has to be a full-time job, so if it's short-term on a roster, they wouldn't be able to utilize those roles, but they've been very successful in getting kids who are in Ontario, have taken the program through one of the community colleges in Ontario and recruited them out here.
And then bridged them.
Yeah, and then Tideview's also hired 2 last year, and Acadian, Villa, thank you very much. They hired 2 recently as well. Now, they didn't come in through the AIP. They just happened to knock on their door. But there are ways for some of the players in the healthcare field to actually utilize the AIPP to fill some of the needs that they have.
And my other, I'm sorry.
Can I just mention one more thing? When individuals are coming from other countries too, and they're coming as a student and they're studying for a couple of years, once they're finished their studies and have graduated, they will receive a 2-year open work permit as well. So they'll be able to
do, isn't it?
It's been part of the AIPP since the beginning.
Oh, really? Okay.
So that's another great kind of market that we encourage employers to kind of tap into, is the international grads who are here on open work permits, which also gives an opportunity for them to come and work with an employer, on an open work permit. So there's no, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. Restrictions. Yeah, right. Thank you.
I don't know if I'm supposed to speak of names, but I know that the funding complex.
Yes, but see, they've never reached out to me in the 2 years that I've been in the role, and I know they didn't connect with either of my predecessors. So I honestly don't know. From what I understand from one of the partners, they're quite happy with the processes they have in place. It works for them, but I've always made offers.
No, because I was going to say, they have had staff they have hired that have become Canadian or landed immigrants to eventually become Canadian citizens. I just assumed they were through you because it's been so good. The other comment I wanted to comment on was kidney fisheries. I mean, I talked to their I don't know if he's a CEO or a CAO, but I'm going to say CEO. And he is so happy with the program. And he said the work ethics of, they mainly have Koreans in. I don't want that to sound sort of, but no. And, and he was saying that he's had a few that are going to be getting their landed immigrants or
Very soon.
They're really, it's not yet, but soon.
I've been able to work with the immigrants at the business. Really, they seem to get along really well. Really,
With the community.
Yeah. I've heard lots of positive things.
But I just want to say, I know they're working in your group, or with some of you. But
Well, another one who is just recently started recruiting under the program is AF and Synergy Seafood. So more and more and more, we are seeing employers see the value of what immigration can do for them, and then the communities benefit from what the employers are doing.
Riverside too, right?
The only complaint I've ever heard about immigration is short-term workers going home. Mm-hmm. They used to complain, like, well, they complain, well, why don't they bring their kids? Why don't they bring their families? Like, I'd hear complaints like that because, like, again, the anxiety of a falling population. Yeah.
So the challenge there is they can stay. If they work out, a company can offer them full-time, year-round.
Which is so much better.
But the only issue is they have to be able to pass an English language test at a certain level to become a Canadian citizen. And if they can't pass the test, unfortunately, it doesn't happen. So I know one company in the Tri-County, like the Yarmouth County area, who has had them coming now back and forth for I don't know how many years, at least 5. And there's one that finally has applied for permanent residency.
Oh, good.
And he's passed the test.
Oh.
So they end up studying, they do self-study, they go home, they study. But that's the challenge with making the temporary foreign workers who are doing labor jobs, and that's the challenge in keeping them.
Yeah, they have to learn. Yeah, it's like me going to Korea to learn Korean. It's just awfully difficult once you're an adult.
the Riverside, I have met several of your foreign workers. And again, all you hear is how well everyone gets along down there with everybody and what good workers they are. I mean, it's
good.
I hate to say this, but Nova Scotians out west are known as being one of the best workers that they can hire. Maritimers are known for that. But they say Nova Scotians are that little step ahead, which always makes me feel proud. So it's nice to see young people coming in because we need youth in this community. We all can't be over 40.
Or 60.
I'm being nice.
I wasn't talking about you, Linda.
I should mention that the Nova Scotia Office of Immigration, which I work with very closely in Halifax, has changed its name recently. And it's something about, I don't even know, I can't remember what the name is, haven't used it yet, but it's got to do with population increase. It's increasing population for our area. So that's a big focus for the agency. Another thing I want to leave you with, just to think about and for you to be aware, and I know that you're a partner organization of the REN,
Yes.
And you may already know, but the REN has recently hired Brenda Lagrandeur to do it's called
Local Immigration
Partnership Program. That will go on for 3 years, and it will engage a lot of community partners such as yourselves and people who work in immigration and immigrants themselves to try to problem solve and come up with strategies to make it better a better situation around here. And coming back to the healthcare, it's interesting that you voiced concern there because it's a huge concern everywhere in rural Nova Scotia, probably rural Canada. But, just an idea for you is you may want to invite Rebecca Rose to speak and present about the work that she does. And perhaps Digby County could consider getting a person.
Rebecca Rose?
Yeah, if you email me, Linda, I can connect you. and she works in Yarmouth, but if you want to email me, my contact information is in the slides, or I can leave you my card. But I'm sure she would come and speak with you to brief you on her project. But,
I mean, we have nothing to say about healthcare, but I was being curious because.
Right. It's definitely there's a huge demand, and the unions make it more difficult for the healthcare agencies to hire, and the whole Nova Scotia Health Association being centralized in Halifax makes it sometimes difficult too.
Personally, I feel there could be jobs that are full-time that they don't make full-time.
Right.
So it's like the chicken and the egg.
Right.
Is it the union or is it the authority?
Right.
Yeah.
Very good point.
And saving money and so on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But
Thank you very much for your time. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
all
it.
three.
Again, don't hesitate to call or send people our way. We're always here to help. Thank you.
and
Really
if
appreciate
one of you happens to be speaking to someone and you're saying, yeah, I remember something, just feel free to call us or if you want us to connect with an individual person or a company.
That's right.
I'm seeing this person that I was just asking a little bit about on Thursday. I think it is Thursday. So I'm going to, because Dave came in, they came in just before COVID, and I know he's worked 3 or 4 jobs because when he came for COVID, I think blew up and it changed. She's been fine. Well, no, she hasn't been fine either, but I mean, she has full-time employment. But, yeah, so I was just wondering.
Another thing I forgot to mention, which is very relevant to that situation, is the REN also has the Connector program, which Brenda was in that role until she took this role. So we've just hired recently this week. She just started, and she's in Digby. Her name is Miranda, first name.
Yeah, I know Miranda.
All right, perfect. So actually, that would be a good connection for her because that person's role is to make connections for people for either employment or profession.
Miranda left us at the Conway Workshop to go to that job.
Okay. So you know her very well.
Yeah, I know her mom and her dad, and yeah.
Okay. Very good.
Yeah. And so if they need bridging services, yes, please connect them to me as well.
And if they need settlement services, you know who to call.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We appreciate your time. You hope to answer our
Thank you for
questions.
giving us lots of time.
No, we only give your presentation so long, but we can ask you questions till the cows come home.
Oh, okay, that's great.
A few cards. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's not working at all, is it?
You just take the mic away.
Oh. Apology for not being critical. I guess I had dead batteries. Lisa, was it me?
Oh, really?
Oh. Okay, and you have the opportunity, if you wish, to sit in our gallery and listen to our whole meeting.
Oh gosh,
Feel
no.
free.
Yeah, looking forward to it. What a thing to do with one. You were so nice, and then you did that to them.
But listen, thank you so much for the offer.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate
Drive
it.
careful.
Yeah. Bye now.
Okay. David, you should always offer people the opportunity.
You give their 5 cents on the road renaming. Minute-to-minute excitement.
The next is there any errors or omissions in the minutes of March 8th?
I move approval of the minutes for March 8th.
I second it.
Okay, there was no errors or omissions. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Is there any unfinished business from those minutes of March 8th that anyone want to bring forward? Hearing none? Okay. The next is a CAO update. Just a reminder, April the 20th Audit Committee, the 27th is Council, May of the 4th is Bylaw and Policy, May the 11th is Committee of the Whole, May 18th is TIR, followed by Bylaw and Policy, and May the 25th is Council. And remember, we do try to take the third Tuesdays off, right? But when, we're doing all this upgrade and uptake and budget, we have to meet all four. So, just want to make sure everyone is aware, so you don't forget. Also, Coralie sent out in your emails today so that you can just press accept.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, from the CAO update, the private members bill had its first reading on March 31st. There are some advertising requirements that we're working with on the town, and then the bill will move to the private and local bills committee. There's already an ad out, just so everyone knew.
See, when in the daily paper it was.
The RCMP complement review, the letter has been written to the new Minister of Justice, and sadly we've not heard back. I will also let you know that I was asked if I would like to be on the RCMP review in this province, and I have accepted. And I have been put on, I have been put on through the Police Association as an RCMP advisory member.
Will this help with your connections with the Department of Justice for us trying to get our things that we want? Maybe.
My job is to, we meet tomorrow for the first time by Zoom.
Okay.
And
make some friends that will help us save some money. Please.
Thank you, David, for that. I just want to once we have our meeting and I'm allowed to talk about, I will.
Okay. Yeah.
But I just wanted you to know it wasn't through the NSFM. It was a different route.
Okay.
They wanted us on there. Also on the asset management, the manager of municipal services has received the final documents and will give a presentation at the June committee of the whole on the work being done for the project and what those next steps are. And he said that he's bringing us olive treat in so that we will stay and enjoy.
Who?
I'm sure you'll enjoy.
Oh, Tyler?
Yeah, but he's bringing treats in for all of us.
It's getting close to Mother's Day. I'll bring you guys some treats.
David, you're not. Never mind, David. You didn't get my message.
I remember giving them to Gordon, and he was like, "David, you broke 8 laws this earth."
Well, I was just trying to make sure that Tyler understood the importance of making us happy when he's doing his presentations. Yeah. I thought, you might want to bring in
some humor,
potato chips, and dip.
Or we might not approve it, and he has to go back and do it again.
Dip. That's right. I like that.
Under the Accessibility Act, the villages of Weymouth and Freeport have agreed to participate. They're still waiting on responses from Tiverton and Freeport.
Tiverton and Westport, is that Tiverton and Westport? Tiverton is having a meeting very shortly.
No, that's me.
I was talking to the Tiverton
I should have picked
commissioners.
up on that. Because I knew you did. Okay. The rural internet now continues to connect more customers in the Bear River area. If ever anybody was wondering about all those trucks that are out there.
Oh, is that what those were?
They're for the internet.
Geez, and they're all doing that many trucks all at once, huh?
Yeah.
I would have thought they'd have one truck and they'd work on it for a year. So I'm glad to see a
they
bunch
had-
of trucks and get it done quick.
Well,
I didn't know they could do that in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Under phase 1, the environmental assessment, just to remember, Compass has provided a timeline, and staff will begin to investigate how to hold a public hearing and comply with all COVID-19 public health requirements. Under COVID-19, staff continues to monitor any changes to the public health requirements. As we have heard today, they are changing our bubble. That is not going to open like they thought. There is concerns about the variant now that if anyone has been to a place that there's a possibility you immediately have to go get checked and you are not allowed to come to work.
Down in my end, people aren't even going to the valley and they have it for months upon months. They'll only go to Yarmouth.
Yeah, just remember, 3 cases were again in the western region today.
So
yeah.
Mm.
So all I'm saying is we are, at the staff,
out of the woods,
the
yeah.
staff are keeping due diligence But it's scary out there because when you think things are pulling together, the two variants that are in Nova Scotia are worse than the original. Then the department reports. And I guess the question I have is, does anyone have any questions
No, everything looks
from
good.
those reports?
I'm fine.
Anybody? No?
Councillor Thurber.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
And
forgot my notes, but I just wanted to ask Tyler about the lighthouse. I've seen it in there, it just said that you're continuing this.
Yep, so I can give you an update. So I take it you're asking about the Bear River Lighthouse?
Yes.
Yep. So that one, we've signed the documents, including the right of first refusal. So that one's going to close any time now. So we should be taking possession of that shortly, actually. So, yeah.
Is it still 3 guys in an office in Ottawa? No, it was 2 guys in an office in Ottawa. Is it still those 2 guys? And they're like, enough work for 10 guys, but there's only 2 of them? And they're years behind?
They seem to be quite busy.
Yeah, that's them all right.
My comment was actually on the permit applications. Seems to me we have quite a few coming in. I'm surprised at the price that it's gone so high for plywood.
Yeah, no, it hasn't stopped people.
Well, I know we're building a dog pen, and I'm crying every time Wendell has to buy a 2x4.
I broke one the other day. Shed tear.
Glue it back together with wood glue. You can't just throw those things away, they're too valuable.
We are seeing a lot of renovation permits.
Yeah.
It is a-
Well, all these houses are half falling apart. People
Yes,
bought.
but
A lot of repairs.
it is still very active.
Yeah, like I said, when we decided to put in a pen for the dog, I looked at Wendell. Wendell says, probably going to cost us
We had a
a
bidding
minimum
war
of
house
$500.
Just a little while.
Minimum. And I looked at him and I said, Wendell,
$100,000.
you got a bunch of wire and you got a few sticks,
3-port.
4x4s and whatever. I said, it shouldn't cost over $50.
That's the house had been empty for
We're
10
already
years.
over $500.
Oh, yeah.
So I feel sorry for anyone who is building right now.
Mom's expanding the lodge. I'm like, geez, good timing.
So that, I just wanted to make that comment because I was really surprised about our building
Just
permit.
expensive next year.
And the only other question I had, no, that's fine, I already had it answered. Okay, the next is,
Oh, I know, a lot of calls. Scott, Mr. Cromwell will certainly earn his money this month.
yeah,
He's got that. It's just a breeze. Be the dog catcher. There's no trouble at all.
oh.
No.
Now, I think I ask this every time, do we do approval on those? Okay. Next, there is nothing under dangerous and unsightly premises, so we're going to go to business items. And the first business item is road renaming.
Road rename.
Take
And-
advice.
That has come from Tyler, and I would like Tyler to make any comments that he wants to. I know it's all there, and I've read it, but
What's your thoughts on people maybe, do you think they're going to be expanding on the ends of that road, like going inwards, or is there any appetite for the 100 or so landowners to maybe work together and do something?
There's been no indication of expanding towards the middle of it.
Okay.
I think the road would need a lot of work for that to happen. But no, I mean, there's nothing really to add to the memo. Pretty straightforward. We've surveyed the residents. We've talked to TIR. So.
and I'm going to be upfront. We've always called the other end of the Lower Cloven Road Old Post Road, and I didn't realize it was an Old Post Road until Tyler and Kathy did the check for me, which I appreciate. And then I went down and checked the signs.
Trout Cove Road, is what they call it.
Well, no, I'm talking up at my end, and then that is called the old Route 217 loop, which drives everybody crazy.
There's no loop.
So, if there is no discussion, would someone like to make that motion?
I recommend the council the approval of the application for a name change of Old Route 217 loop that extends from Centerville to Sandy Cove to Old Post Road.
Are we doing Old Post Road, Centerville, Old Post Road, Sandy Cove?
No, just Old Post Road.
Okay, just wanted to check. Is there a seconder?
Second it.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. The next is Highway 101 safety discussion. And
I put that on there
Yep.
to have a discussion with you guys. Ever since I want to review it because when we talked to TIR, they did go down and do a safety review. They were done with the highway when they finished building the section of the Highway 101. They went down and did a safety review of the rest of the 101 instead of saying we're going to go to phase 2. They went down. They bought a store. They demolished the store. They put some guardrails in. Well, I don't even know. Yeah, there might have been a few guardrails. Since then, we've had 5 accidents, 1 death, and I don't feel that review was good enough.
There's not enough traffic, and they just
I
waved
don't
it off.
know who to write to first. I talked to Jeff about it. I think writing to Tony, maybe getting some more clarification on what this review and safety process is about, because I feel that it needs to be open again. And if we have to, we can write to the Minister of Transportation. I've also been trying to get a Highway 101 task force meeting together sometime. I know COVID's been hard, Linda. I've talked to you about it, but I feel there's just too many moving parts right now. Since COVID, Phil Mooney's not there anymore. We've got some people on our task force that's gone.
yes,
We have a MLA that's retiring soon. I'm at a standstill, and I still have lots of people calling me. What are we doing about this highway?
and the problem has been we have no place to have a meeting.
No,
And
that's
a
right.
lot of our people that are not
Not even
Zoom.
Yeah.
I want to be careful how I say this, but they're not Zoom literate.
That's right.
So we've been putting it off.
Yeah.
Yes, I want a meeting. I wanted it sooner than later.
Yep.
But again, just as I mentioned a little earlier, it looks like there's going to be some closing happening again. Then we just think we're going to open.
I know.
I don't know if the answer would be that we would meet at the arena. I'm going to ask our CAO what his comments are.
So I guess I do think it's challenging without looking at the roster, but from the little bit that I am familiar with of the task force, at this point, I think there's been an incredible turnover of that membership.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would take some time to even get councils to reappoint people. I think likely more time at this point than we're looking for. I think for this matter, one step would be I think writing an official letter to Tony Harvey looking for an update on if all of the safety studies are done. I think you will remember, like Matt said, when they finished the project, there was one, and I think after the accidents last summer, there was supposed to be, it's unclear in my memory whether that was a full review or just a partial review, but I think trying to get clarity on where they are with that. I think maybe if I could have a meeting in between to dig out the old membership of the task force, and then I could come back at a bylaw and policy, and we can see where we are with, but I do believe there's been, other than the two of you, perhaps a full turnover of all members.
Ronnie LeBlanc
It's still there, yeah,
is
sorry.
the only one.
They're still there, so yeah.
Well, at this time,
Right.
Yeah.
So I will dig out that membership and we can discuss that at a bylaw and policy.
that would be wonderful.
Just-
Thank you so much.
Just to cover this, I just wonder, because Tony, if I remember correctly, was talking about being a low traffic area and the sort of numbers that they look at they won't even blink at these areas as they're used to areas outside of Halifax with much greater traffic. And I just wonder if it's so low, no matter how many accidents, it just will never trigger anything. Because it's the requirements for a safety study
I don't know.
for them to
5
do something
accidents
about
in the
it.
last year and a half is more accidents than I think they've seen Bridgetown to Middleton. And
I think that what we need to do is write an official letter and talk to them, because it's been difficult for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and
Dodging up,
and
dodging.
you've got to remember, the TIR follows what is politically told to them. as
Yes,
well.
they are. That's
I mean,
absolutely.
you can't blame TIR for things that you know, that it's not. And I think this is the time people are concerned about the 101.
Yeah.
And the thoughts.
Have you reached out to Gordon yourself, though? Have you?
I've reached out to Gordon, but I mean, it's the province. They say there's money, but then it's the federal. I don't know. It's like the chicken and the egg that you just described
Yes.
here.
Feds tell me that they could find money.
Yeah.
The province put it forward.
Yeah.
Province says they've got money, but they don't want to put it forward because the feds don't have any money. Then they don't really have any money either. So
It's just we have an unfinished 101. We have a dangerous number.
Yeah, like
So we
crazy,
have to
bizarre
keep on it.
design.
I mean, I know there's changes coming, and maybe that's a good time because there's going to be new people. Could be a whole new government. Let's make them aware that we're still here and there's still
this is-
issues,
yeah.
and we need them looked after.
We got to make sure our issues are front and center when the provincial election rolls around. I plan on pushing our issues very much.
okay,
We'll
so
do
can I
that.
have a motion
All
from
three
you,
down lines.
Matthew?
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion to, I guess we're gonna take it to TIR, to Tony, to let Jeff, talk with him about the safety measures.
I would say an official letter should
Or
go.
official
Yeah,
letter.
I think a letter,
Okay,
the
so-
letterhead would come up on the agenda, but I didn't think an official letter.
Okay, so I'll motion to make an official letter to, Tony Harvey at, TIR.
And I second that.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary-minded? Motion
I
carries.
get a little mixed up. We had those letters from the kids for the 217, and I had a brain fart. I thought Highway 101 safety, and I must have read 217 safety.
Oh, okay, no, we're going down to that one next.
Okay. Oh, Roxville turn. We call it something different.
We call it Rolette's turn.
Suicide corner. I think they call it.
I've heard it called Dead Man's Turn, so. But, the next is Roxville Turn.
Oops. Yeah.
There has been, in a very short order, a couple of serious accidents on that turn. One person has been killed. There has been, as you saw, some emails sent to myself and to David. And the concern is what can be done. I think how we started is we send a letter to TIR with what the concerns are. Personally, I think they need
Speed's
those
part of it.
arrow, those arrow signs.
I drove down to Lunenburg
And-
yesterday, and I noticed they need, I don't know what's there, I can't remember,
Mhm.
but I noticed when you go from here, you take the number 8 down to Bridgewater, yeah, they need some of those big chevrons on.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Chevron?
Big chevrons, yeah,
They're really interesting.
This is a word I don't know. Oh, it's like a shape.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So,
It's like 2 rectangles.
if we could do that,
Mhm.
I don't know how people feel, but I think we would put forward maybe a couple of suggestions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And again, at our TIR, and I'm not sure if this goes to, I'm gonna say we will send it to Tony first and then go, if we have to.
I think it's a combination of speed,
Yeah.
design,
yeah.
drug abuse, alcohol abuse.
Thank you.
It's a variety of things, but all of them are real.
So,
You want a motion to take that to the next TIR meeting, or you want to?
I think we should send a letter before the TIR meeting.
I agree. I'd like to make a motion that we send a letter to TIR expressing our concerns about the Roxville.
Well, we'll call it the proper name.
Is that the Roxville turn? Is that the proper name?
Rolette's turn, I think, but we'll check it out by.
Yeah, it's definitely not Suicide Corner up in Islands. Barely. Yeah,
And
something
then
like
we'll
that.
go to Tony Harvey as well. So do we have a
I'll
second?
second it.
Any further discussion?
Thanks, everybody.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.
Oh, sorry. Just one last thing. I'm good. It is a classroom, so I expect there'll be teachable moments involved with this. So whatever sort of information we get, I imagine I would like to take.
I ask you, what do you mean by a classroom?
It is a grade 10 class that wrote those letters.
Really?
Yeah. Then they took it on themselves because they were upset with the amount of accidents on that turn, and I thought it was a great idea. So whatever does come out of it, I'll probably make a lesson plan out of it and take it back to the kids. You could as well maybe come instead.
Well, I'm going to return all their emails.
All right, they're used to me. They were pleased you returned, and they commented that I didn't. So good.
Oh, okay.
You told me not to rate anybody. I took it too seriously. To wait for you guys.
You have to, well, I mean, it's always steps. The other that I think has gone to our TIR meeting was from your district, Matthew, from when Patsy, John and Patsy Haight, and I believe we have pushed that to TIR.
Put that on there. I was going to ask Jeff to put that on the TIR.
Yeah, that's what I think we have done. So that is why that one's not up, and you'll all get copies of their concerns as well. Now, correspondence. We have correspondence from Bill 47. Any questions or concerns? Bill 50. Questions or concerns? Letter from FCM.
Yep.
The mayors, wardens, and CIO Zoom minutes, and of course from Nova Scotia.
I just want to say how much fun it was to read those.
Well, thank you. So, is there any questions or concerns?
No.
Okay, there is no in camera. So we will be going to adjournment, if someone would like to adjourn. Is there a seconder?
It's good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried.